Please join me in welcoming Mr. Umair Hameed, Vice President, Specialist Sales Lead, Consumer Solutions Southeast Asia at Mastercard. Mr. Umair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Good morning. Welcome once again to everyone. And a big thank you to Fazil and the rest of the team for the opportunity to share more about our perspectives on trust, transparency, and brand loyalty. And hopefully, over the next 10, 12 minutes, I'll be able to share with you our perspectives and, more importantly, what Mastercard is doing in this space. So with that, I just want to check if the presentation comes up. Awesome. Okay. So what does trust and transparency really mean, right, in the virtual halal economy? I just want to check the clicker works. Sorry. I think we may need to just, yeah, okay. So digital duality, right? So if we take a step back and ask ourselves that when we were in the physical era or are still in the physical era, right, there were a lot of things that we will touch, feel, experience, and then pay for them, right? So you go to a restaurant, you will order a meal, you'll eat it, then comes the bill, and you'll pay for it. Everything is tangible. You can verify it. If you're not sure if the restaurant's halal or not, you can ask them for a certificate. They have the MOIS, or depending on which country you're in. But everything in the physical world is visible, often verifiable, and tangible. But as the economy starts to move more and more towards digital and then agentic, a lot of the transparency starts to disappear, right? It goes behind the scenes. So now when we think about digital, and as I was sitting in the back, I was observing a number of people are browsing different websites, trying to book something, etc. This is what you're going to see, right? Behind a laptop, behind your phone, etc. And this is where some of the aspects which were transparent start to disappear. And this is where you're taking decisions purely based on what you can see and what you can read, right? So you'll read reviews on third-party websites. Some of them may be authentic, and some of them may be fabricated, right, as we know it. But there is still a certain level of verification that you can do as a consumer. But now let's move to the next wave of commerce, which is agentic, where you are essentially relying on some agents that are putting together information that are helping form your transaction journey, but you're often not sure of what's happening behind the scenes. So as the journey for you to take the decision becomes more and more digital, that's where transparency and trust become even more critical. Because now you no longer know who is it that is serving you behind the scenes. Now let's put that to a real example, right? In travel, and that's why a lot of us are here today to talk about travel. Many of us traveled in. But let's think about it, right? Very common, you browse any website. I know Fazal Saab is a big fan of trip.com. We've spent a lot of time traveling, and he'll tell me about the reviews he's been reading, right? So he'll read reviews, he'll decide what he likes, or any of us. And then we get to the payment checkout page. Now this is where the first surprise comes in, because the price that you saw may not always be the price that you end up paying for, because all of a sudden you now have different charges. And surprise, surprise, when you show up at the actual hotel destination itself, things aren't what was promised. But even in this scenario, you still have a certain degree of accountability. So even when perception of what was shown doesn't reconcile with reality, at least you can go and vent some frustration on the platform or the OTA or the company that booked it. And if the price discrepancy is there, you still have a way to challenge, right? But at least you know what you ended up paying. And what happens when promise doesn't equate equality, right? So there are recourses available still in the conventional digital world. But now let's come to agentic. This is where you are relying on an agent. And my wife was recently doing some booking using an agent. And I said, listen, in God we trust, right? Especially as Muslims, in God we trust. But can you really trust your agent? Because you actually don't know what the agent is designed to actually do. So if I use some AI travel agent to make some bookings, and they have selected certain flights, maybe certain bookings at hotels, restaurants, etc., I'm starting to think that is this really the best option, or has a certain degree of biasness started to creep up? If I'm reading about something being halal or not, who is actually going to take that responsibility to say, yes, it is halal, not some random Reddit post from where the agent scooped the data? Then similarly, who is actually the fulfillment partner? When I book it through an OTA, at least I know it's a certain website, Agoda, Trip.com, Expedia, etc. But in this case, in the world of agentic commerce, and as more and more halal commerce moves to agentic commerce, who is actually fulfilling that commitment of what is it that I'm purchasing? And especially when things like halal, so I'll share one of my own examples. I was recently in one of the Southeast Asian markets where I booked a particular hotel that had, I used an agent to do research, and the agent said, this hotel is definitely halal, they have halal meat available, etc. So when I showed up at the hotel, I said, where do I get my halal meal? They said, oh, sir, that was pre-COVID. We have stopped doing that. So I then went back to my co-pilot, as the agent I use, and it said, oops, that information was a few years dated. Now, can you imagine that it's only when I got to the hotel did I realize that this hotel used to be halal, but 6 years ago. Whereas when you search for it today, I'm willing to bet if I gave you the hotel name and you searched, it'll show up as being halal, right? So things like these will start to become more and more prevalent because of some of these challenges, right? Of how the agent has been designed and how some of that fulfillment's happening. Similarly, pricing. Today, I personally feel that we are placing a lot of trust on what we see because the generative technology is able to actually generate something, right? So it does it with so much conviction that we end up believing it, right? And the same is starting to happen with pricing, that the agent will bundle things up and price them in a certain way that a lot of the transparency and breakdown that used to exist won't happen. So you're not even sure whether the agent has actually baked in any margins or any added fees, etc., just because of the way things are getting presented. And lastly, and perhaps the most important aspect, is the accountability. When something goes wrong, things aren't what they were supposed to be, who are you going to hold responsible? And going back to the point I was saying, right, that in God we trust, but what about the agent? And this is where, when you can't see or interact, so that transparency isn't there, you don't choose, the agent is actually selecting a lot of it, you don't really control the outcome, and lastly, you still have to pay. Where is the trust? Where is the trust getting embedded into the system? And this is where I want to just end up with one of the solutions that Mastercard is launching. And as you know, Mastercard and our competition have really been built over the years on the whole notion of trust. You take a Mastercard from anywhere in the world, you present it to any merchant that accepts cards anywhere in the world, the merchant knows they will get paid. They trust the network, they trust the scheme, and as we move more and more towards agentic commerce, it's important that trust is embedded within the platform itself, not external to it. So just a quick short video on this, and I'll then wrap up.
Imagine this. You've booked flights to your dream destination. Now, Don't you wish you knew a local in that city? A discerning friend who could guide you away from the tourist traps and give you insider access to its best kept secrets? So here's introducing the Mastercard Lifestyle Navigator, a concierge-style platform powered by local creators, verified tastemakers, and premium content partners. The Navigator asks a few simple questions. When are you traveling? Who are you going with? What kind of a trip do you want? What do you really enjoy doing? And then something magical happens. Experiences recommended by creators and tastemakers start surfacing for you to browse and select in real time. And along the way, you are served offers that unlock benefits you might otherwise have missed. The Navigator adapts instantly, geo-specific, dynamically responsive, delivering location-aware recommendations and real-time itinerary updates. Because when the right experience meets the right person at the right time, it's not just valuable, it's priceless.
So this is where you can see, the whole notion of Mastercard making sure that it's verified tastemakers, verified offers, provided by trusted merchants and partners are starting to be embedded within the solution itself. And as we see more and more agentic commerce and more halal economy shifting from purely digital as we know it today to agentic, it'll become even more important for platforms to ensure that the trust and transparency is embedded within so as to continue to enhance the user experience. With that, thank you so much for your time. I'll be around, happy to discuss further, but I think I stuck to my precise 10 minutes. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Umair, for those valuable perspectives and for highlighting the growing importance of trust, transparency, and authenticity in today's digital halal economy.